Previously on The Great Game. We continued in our game to see the generations of war have changed and cities are now being captured left and right. We see this with Ayunis, Rabat, Saleh, and Kermanshah. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sid Meier's Civilization V, The Great Game. As is usual, I am your lovely narrator, Kazia. Very lovely to have you again today for episode 4. Now, just to be clear, the footage you are seeing is from the last episode's last turn. As we get into the next turn, we will begin to see new footage. With all that out of the way, if you enjoy this series, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to let me know. I am working on some new content when Civilization 7 comes out, and I would really appreciate seeing your guys' support. Now, currently in Africa, we have a few wars going on. Right here, we see the conflict between Lesotho and the allied forces of Maravi and Buganda. Up in Porto, we will see that Aquitaine will actually reinforce their armies. As you can see, they now have several spearmen coming to the front in Porto in order to launch an offensive. For those unaware, Aquitaine is led by Eleanor of Aquitaine, of course, and Portugal is led by King Manuel I of Portugal. Over in Eastern and Central Europe, we can see King Frederick II of Prussia valiantly commanding his troops to defend against a Yugoslavian invasion from the east and a Roman invasion from the west. You might recall in previous episodes I've talked about how allied armies can end up splitting a single target's forces in half, and this is a great showcase of what that looks like, both in terms of the offensive capabilities, but also in terms of how Prussia can defend extremely well, actually, against such a tactic. While we take a brief pause here to transition from scene to scene, I just want to clarify that last week was my birthday, and I want to apologize for the lack of an episode. We return now to Australia to see that shit is going down between the Banuba and, well, Australia. The Banuba have a force outside of Brisbane ready to capture it at any given moment, essentially, given that Brisbane's only defense is an archer. It doesn't even have walls yet. As we see Janamara's forces push forward onto Brisbane, we also see the Australian counter-offensive, which is, quite frankly, pitiful. We go now to Persia to see the Persian Civil War still ongoing, and with the Achaemenids now fighting against the Umayyads as well, giving them a bit of a distraction and giving Nader Shah's Afsharids a brief respite. At least on the western front. On the eastern front, we see Damghan getting besieged brutally by Aurangzeb's Mughals. The city does not look to fall this turn, but it could fall in one of the following turns. Other than that, I want to look at adjacent civilizations and their settling patterns like Dnipro, right up by Golden Horde territory, settled by Ukraine. I also want to bring up the Bangladeshi settlements that are settling towards the Tarim Basin, because those can be really well defended, but they won't really help too long in a game of domination. And speak of the domination devil, and she shall appear. We see a brand new war popping up in South America as Brazil declares war on Argentina under Juan Manuel de Rosas. Getulio Vargas' Brazil is holding the offensive lead here, and it looks pretty solid. I don't see much defending for the city of Cordova, but you never know. So, thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win, Argentina or Brazil? For those who play Civilization 7, you might be aware of Buganda, who is seen here besieging Teateaneng. They are actually one of my favorite civilizations in Civilization 7, so I'm really happy to appreciate them here as well. Nang belongs to Maastricht the First, Lesotho. Man, Aquitaine just doesn't know when to give up. They've been trying to siege Porto for years, and they've never quite reached the city yet. This is the closest they've made by embarking over the seas to try and take the city. I don't think it's gonna work, because Portugal has naval units. Here we see the Roman army trying to reach either Frankfurt, Berlin, or Königsberg to besiege Prussia. However, I don't think they're gonna go too far, and we see another interesting facet of this war, which is that Aquitaine is going to be settling in that territory the Roman army currently occupies, making it much harder for Rome to continue their offensive. While Yugoslavia has a great advantage on the eastern front, a part of that has been because Rome has been distracting Prussia on the western front, and thus Yugoslavia may lose their advantage. Well, I say that, but that hasn't happened yet, so we are going to see this turn Magdeburg will get besieged down to about half of their health total. I also want to keep pointing out the amazing Ukrainian army to the east. I am just enjoying this war in Australia. The Banuba have been doing a phenomenal job fighting back in a war they didn't even start to besiege Brisbane. We do see Brisbane drop down to about half of its total health. However, keep in mind the Australia turn is right adjacent to the Banuba turn, so it's likely going to restore some health once we swap turns to Australia's turn. I've said turn a lot, I know, it's starting to lose its meaning. While we have the time, I also want to point out our new colony on Australia with Elevala settled by the Motu. I say new, it's been there for a bit, but I do want to point it out. Africa is just the gift that keeps on giving. We see Buganda is truly fighting hard against Lesotho, and Mutisa I's army is just obliterating any resistance. Keep in mind, this is with the context that our previous most successful war was also in Africa, with Mali besieging Saleh and Rabat from the Alawites, capturing both cities. I will give credit where it's due. Ismail ibn Sharif is defending the main territories of Morocco valiantly. While we do have a new war popping up on screen, we are going to keep our focus on some of the old wars first to get a look at the Persian Civil War. The Asherids are just getting brutally beaten over and over as Damghan is, well, about to be damn gone. Hey, terrible. Puns aside, the city does indeed drop to red health, but does not quite fall this turn. I do want to point out, however, the Achaemenids to the west are losing a lot of their core army trying to take Mashhad and failing. They are not actually approaching the city very well, and it actually looks like Nader Shah has a great defense this time. We see over here in South America that the siege of Cordoba is starting to begin in earnest as the Brazilian-Argentine War is picking up steam. This is a conflict I want to keep a close eye on because these are two colonial powers in South America. We have not seen any of the native powers involved in this conflict yet. I don't know much about Getulio Vargas' indigenous policy, but I do know Juan Manuel de Rosas was not the best. You know, it happens when you're portraying historical figures. They tend to not be very good towards natives. However, we do have a new war starting up between Aulak under Trung Trac and Taiwan under Chiang Kai-shek. Currently, the war is limited to a few skirmishes outside of major cities. So, we are gonna see Tea Nang fall to about red health, but I also want to point out the Moravi have founded Niao, which is a religion unique to their civilization. Eleanor of Aquitaine cannot believe the gall of this portal. Hey, we're 2 for 2 on this terrible punny episode. Anyways, the city is not going to fall anytime soon. It is not looking good for Eleanor. We do have some major changes in this Central European war coming up, as we see that the Prussian resistance around Magdeburg is faltering hard. This vanguard city, which is sort of pincered between two of Yugoslavia's cities, is in a very vulnerable position, and Prussia is still fending off the Romans to the west, having seen that Aquitaine has still not settled their brand new settler south of Angoulême. Oh yeah, if I mispronounce an Aquitaine city, keep in mind that is completely intentional. I do not respect the French language at all. You croissant motherfuckers. I also want to point out, while Magdeburg is being besieged to red, and it doesn't look like Yugoslavia is going to be able to take it this turn, Prussia is sending settlers up north to Scandinavia, which has a lot of empty space due to it being Scandinavia. There's like 2 civilizations there. One is already almost dead. We're about to bless these rains down in Africa as we see, first off, there are 2 war declarations happening in the background. We're going to get to that at a later point, but for now, we see Lesotho's Teotihuacan is falling hard down to red health, and it seems they are on the brink of capture within this turn or the next. I am personally looking forward to the rise of these African states that are just powerful. Africa is one of the largest continents, and also it has a lot of jungle, which is very good for growth and science production. It's a lot to explain if you're not familiar with Civilization 5. I highly recommend for those new to the series to pick it up. It's a great game and it should be fairly cheap nowadays. We see the very familiarly named city of Kurtuba by the Umayyads being besieged by the Achaemenids, but even more important than that, Damgan is getting assaulted hard, and we are about to see this city fall to Mughal forces under Aurangzeb, as it does so right then and there. While Nader Shah does have a spare settler, he is down to 3 cities now after expanding quite heavily early on. We also see Prussia's defense against the Roman army on the Western Front, and as we approach the end of this turn, we are going to see things start to change a bit. This is because, as we watch this current scene of Brazil besieging Cordoba down to, and I am not kidding, they will bring it down to about 0 health, but not quite able to take the city. I had to switch the clip I was using to edit the video together. Which means we are going to actually go into our little tour around the globe to look at various different civilizations, starting with the Umayyads. The Umayyads have been a consistent arbiter of conflict for some ungodly reason. I don't even think they're a militaristic civ. We also do see that Karelia has given up their city of Utuwa in a peace deal when they were fighting with the Soviet Union. That means they are down to 2 cities. And yes, they are at war with both Swedes and Ukraine. The Swedes are a much closer enemy, but Ukraine of course has a giant army, but it seems to be dispersing. Here we get a nice overview of Mali and Morocco, who have been in pretty consistent conflict for the past couple of episodes. We also get a good look at the Brazilian Corps to see that they have mobilized all of their troops to attack Argentina. Impressive. We also get a great look at the Aztecs centered in Tenochtitlan, who are led by none other than Tlacaelel. Sorry Montezuma, no vanilla civs here. We do have America under Theodore Roosevelt as well, meaning Washington has also got the axe. We also get a good look at the Métis, who are the founders of Catholicism, They are a religious and militaristic civ, and they are big right now. I love showing off Japan under Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and also Coiot under Taisho. These are two civilizations that should really be going at each other, considering historically Japan has not been the friendliest with Korea. Hey, you never know. Let's speed up our previews of each civ. We can see Aulak has a 4th settler, and Taiwan has a massive army approaching their capital. We also get a good look at Malacca, led by Paramaswara, who have a total of 5 cities and are looking pretty strong right now. Jandamara of the Banuba made peace with Australia, having not taken Brisbane or any other city. I don't know why, that's just what they did. Teateaneng is hanging on by a thread. It's up to Buganda to knock them out. Come on, you've got this, Mutisa. Egypt has steadily been recovering after their long-ass war with the Umayyads, from which they have since made peace, and they're at a pretty good 5 cities. A lot of them are on the Nile, of course. We get a great look at the Mughal Empire under Aurangzeb, who have since taken their 5th city with the capture of Damgan from the Asherids. We also get a good look at underrated powers such as Vijayanagara and Bangladesh. The Kyrgyz, seen here in black, are doing very well right now. They actually got a color change before they were featured in this game, so keep that in mind if you download the mod. Here we see Haida in Skangwai. They are led by none other than Coiot. And yeah, they've got 3 cities, 2 of which are on the mainland, but Skangwai is in a very good defensive position on its own island. As we progress into the action part of this turn, we are going to see several things. First off, we're going to see the Argentine resistance to Brazil. We are not going to get into whether Cordoba falls or not yet. We are going to see some of the war between Karelia and the Swedes as well. Ukraine still hasn't caught up to them. Karelia are a civ designed by me, and if you want to download any of the civs featured, you can go to the description below. We are also going to see Aulak resisting the Taiwanese invasion from Chiang Kai-shek, and they're looking pretty good in their defense right now, especially with the rough terrain that Chiang Kai-shek's armies will have to plow through. They are not really going to get too far, I think. Oh, we also get to see that Aulak has one of their unique units. I believe that is their unique Great General replacement. We return to Africa to see Buganda will finally take Teateaneng. Knockout, baby! Okay, I shouldn't root for any civs. That would be favoritism. But I am a spectator. I can enjoy the game too. And I like watching wars. If you like watching wars, such as the war between Buganda and Lesotho, you can subscribe to my channel, leave a like, and comment down below. This is a great way to show your support for this series. I know these sorts of advertisements are annoying, but it's how I have to grow my channel to support this series. Anyways, as Lesotho's turn ends, and Buganda's turn ends at least, we see that Teateaneng will remain in Bugandan hands, and it looks like Buganda still has a force to go. We reach Yugoslavia's turn, where we're seeing that their siege of Magdeburg is sort of dying down. They don't have any melee units near the city. I don't think they will be able to take the city this turn, but they are besieging it to quite low health, and Prussia's resistance has been quite impressive, so any sort of wins here are major for Yugoslavia. We will see Magdeburg being brought down to the red and down to about 0 health, but again, there are no melee units nearby. Now, we are approaching the end of the episode, but I do have one more gift for you, because you might see this, Cordoba is going to fall to Brazil. Bam! There we go. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. My name is Kazuya. It is so wonderful to have you here. Please be sure to show your support. My name is Kazuya, signing off. Bye-bye!